The devastating weather in Queensland over the past few weeks has really taken the steam out of the state's jobs market. As a result, the national outlook has also been pulled down. This is out of the latest survey from Advantage Professional. There is a silver lining, it would seem, though. Bob Olivier joins me now. Bob, good morning to you. We'll get to the silver lining first on Queensland's jobs market at the moment. The worst online job advertisements decline in about 2 years, according to your survey. Was this focused in any particular sectors, or was it across the board?
Look, Queensland's taken a pretty heavy hit across the board, but there were the most significant declines were in building and construction, transport, and unfortunately travel and hospitality.
So all directly related to
I'm
the
afraid
floods
so.
then?
Yeah, I mean, well, probably comforting that it's directly related to that, and it's not something in addition to. So I think that both building construction, well, that's got the propensity to come back. Tourism, though, you know, that's been on the decline for a couple of months. The Aussie's strong, and now with these calamitous situation, I think people around the world, while they're sympathetic, I'm not sure they're going to choose that as their next holiday destination.
I just came back from Queensland over the weekend, and from reporting up there, and there's a definite sense of people can see the silver lining, particularly for the construction sector. Do you expect there to be some sort of multi-speed jobs market there, particularly in Queensland now, exacerbated by what we've been seeing?
It's quite an interesting way of looking at it. Yes, you could well see that. I certainly see that even before the floods, that building construction on the Gold Coast, for example, you know, those areas weren't doing particularly well.
Because they all say, look, that industry was just struggling for so long up there.
So, yeah, a silver lining. Well, you've got actually some positive things in that there will be job creation, building and construction, trades and services. You know, it's actually going to be a battle to get the people to Queensland, as opposed to so many that are travelling and going to Western Australia.
When you look at, say, the tourism sectors, does that get confined to the state, that the troubles of that sector, or do you see this flow-on effect to other states in the same sector?
No, the other states have also been hit in the tourism area. Overall, it's down about 2.5%. It's been poor for the last couple of months, and we always said, well, there was the rush into this Christmas, and then it was what was going to happen after the January holidays. But the answer is it's going to be pretty quiet, both domestically, and the inbound's not looking too healthy either, I don't think.
I guess the thing is, now that we've seen multiple states hit by the weather as well, first it was the Queensland with the flooding, then it moved down to Victoria, you've got the cyclone up in Queensland, now you've got bushfires over in WA. Do you expect that to take some sort of toll on employer confidence? How does that actually feed through to the coming months and hiring expectations?
I think that employment is all about confidence. Employers aren't macroeconomists. They don't look at the price of... They're not looking at they look at what's immediately happening around them. So are there customers coming into the shop? Is the phone ringing? Is the demand there? What are their stock levels like? How are their suppliers feeding? So you can actually, that's what makes them choose whether to hire or not. I mean, it's not a long-term investment decision. It's, do I need to replace that person who's resigned? You know, do I need to grow because I'm anticipating further orders? So it's those sort of decisions. And when there's that lack of confidence, when they're hearing bad news, interest rates before Christmas, now what's happening to the economy, I think it's going to make them soften their demand. I mean, I don't think anyone's got any doubt in the long term the Australian economy is strong for 2011. The employment numbers, certainly Mrs Gillard last week was announcing what to do about the skills shortage, but I can tell you employers the last couple of months have been sitting on their hands, so we're not quite there yet.
So they see that, how urgent do they see as the problem of the skills shortage?
Well, it's, in some ways, I think it's easing a little bit in the last couple of months because it's not. The market has been flat. I mean, our numbers show that the number of ads in the last 3 months has just not moved at all. So it is a funny period. It's December and January, but you know, it's really February is going to be the real litmus test on whether the employment market is going to pick up again, or whether it's just going to stay around. And those concerns, both locally and there's always there's always a bit of a global stir when you get stories about some sovereign debt that just feed their way through to the psyche of employers who go, well, maybe it's not the best time to hire yet. Let's just wait.
So just to be clear, why is February so important?
Well, because December and January are knocked around by the seasonal factors every year. I mean, we're looking at a 15 to 20% fall in the number of adverts posted. We seasonally adjust. The Australian Bureau of Statistics take our numbers and say, well, that's the sort of figure that happens every year. So this is the net outcome. The net outcome for January was minus 0.36%. So it's a go nowhere number. So I've really got to wait until February, when there's no excuses, no seasonal factors to really take hold and say, well, now what's happening in the employment market and what's that telling us for 2011?
And I believe something that you're finding interesting is where we used to, dissect all the different sectors and which industries are doing well and which ones badly, etc. Now it's very much state-based. What you're looking at is noticing vast differences between states.
That's right. It's a three-speed economy. We've clearly got Western Australia going actually guns blazing. They're up another 5-6%, driven by engineering and mining. Plenty of other support areas growing. Then you've got Queensland, which now is sort of heading south. And then the rest of the states, which are really indicative of that lack of confidence at the moment, but then more positive expectations in the medium term.
New South Wales?
New South Wales actually fell this month. There's one thing out of this month's figures that concerned me, was the fact that New South Wales fell around 3.5%. There's no logical reason. There's no fires, there's no floods, there's no major catastrophe for any reason why.
Election coming up, would that play into it at all, or not necessarily?
Probably encourage people to hire. I don't know. I don't think that's not a reason now. So that is, I'm saying, maybe we've got to look at that one again more closely. Maybe that's showing the easing. So I mean, the economists, everyone's saying, the government's saying this year's going to be strong. We're nearly reaching full employment, but I think it's just the foot's off the accelerator at the moment.
If you take the timeline out, we know this skills crisis is going to be upon us, and even the RBA is talking about very low levels of unemployment. What needs to happen now to kind of head off that, or get ahead of that problem?
I think one thing that's quite clear is that Mrs Gillard made an announcement last week about some reforms that's going to take their time to work their way through. And I think what happens for those employers who do need staff, you go to Western Australia, small businesses, they've lost many people to the mining industry, they want to hire but they can't do so. The greatest restriction is really on, we need to bring more people in. I think that's definitely the way now. You can do that, but it's a protracted process for business. Big business can manage it, but for small business they can't. Recruiters, we are the industry that kind of oils the wheel globally. We've got the ability to access people around the globe, and we're also very much hamstrung by the process that you have to go through to get an on-hire labour agreement, which from my employers in the US, they say, why bother? Why? It's too hard. We're just going to leave our people in Tokyo, in Japan, in the US. It's too hard to try and send people to Australia because the bureaucratic process creates too much risk for them. So we've got engineers in the US that could come and help with the crisis. We've got, people who lay fibre optic cable in Japan, but we can't bring them across. So really something should be done in that respect.
It's a good place to start anyway. Thank you so much,
Pleasure.
Bob Olivier.
Thanks for the opportunity. Cheers.
Much appreciated, as always.